So, hi everyone. So the session today is about HTTP. I'm sorry, I know that there is a lot of SQL stuff over there, but this session is just about HTTP. So, as you may know HAProxy already, I'm going to show you how you can use HAProxy as an API gateway. So API gateway is a new way, let's say, of defining how to use a load balancer or a reverse proxy. So in your modern applications, your developers are going to write API. Let's say that's written in Node.js, Go, PHP, whatever language you want. And this API is exposed on internet. And you will have front-end developers that will write your HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc. That will be based on, that will call the API to build the pages of your own application. So this is what we call the modern way of developing applications. We used to have before that PHP that was generating HTML, and then HTML was pushed to the client, etc. Now the game is changing a lot. Since everything is based on an API, the market has introduced a new keyword whose name is API gateway, which means that you need a component between your external world and your internal services. Because with the API or the modern way of developing your applications, we see more and more monoliths being broken into small services that we call the microservices. So we moved from PHP or Java big blocks of applications into a lot of small chunks called services, and we need some kind of HTTP router between all of this. And in the slides I'm going to present you today, I'm going to show you how you can use HAProxy as this API gateway. Because if you look on the market on Google, you will see that API gateway used to be some kind of niche market with some very expensive players, I would say. So they do much more than what HAProxy can do, but HAProxy can already be used for free with a lot of, and cover most of the feature sets that you may need. So an API gateway, usually when I speak about it, I'm just saying that it's just a new marketing term on top of HTTP layer reverse proxy. That's it, more or less. So an API gateway has to do HTTP routing, load balancing, circuit breaking, authentication, etc., etc. All of this is explained here, and I'm going to go in the next slide over each item and explain how you can do that with HAProxy. And at the end, at the conclusion layer, I will explain what is not covered by HAProxy actually when you need an API gateway. So you will know exactly if HAProxy can be used in your environment or not. So HTTP routing, as we've seen sooner, you just have one endpoint. So you must get your traffic routed to that endpoint, which is quite simple. Usually that's the host header that resolves to an IP address. And then the IP address is hosted by HAProxy or multiple HAProxy. We can discuss that point later. So HTTP routing means that all the traffic will go into HAProxy, and HAProxy will take routing decision based on information provided by the client request. So routing decision could be taken on host header, could be taken on URL path, which are the most famous ones, you know, like slash foo to one server, slash bar to another server, etc. HAProxy can actually pick up whatever information available in the request to do the routing. It's very flexible from this point of view. You can mix. So in HAProxy, what we call that an ACL. So we have a few examples of ACLs. And you can mix many ACLs together. So for example, on this one, I created ACLs based on the end user host header, some ACLs based on the partner's host header because I want to have multiple entry points to my API. And I also set up some ACLs to match URL paths. And then you can mix all of them. We can say, oh, I want the catalog to be used by the end user only if this is the path for the catalog. And I want the cart to be used by the end user and only if this is the path for the cart, etc., etc. You can have as many ACLs as you want. You can have as many patterns as you want. When you have more than 10, we recommend using a file to store them because it will be much simpler to read your configuration. And the advantage of storing them in a file is that sometimes when you have an API, you can have dedicated hostname for your partners like partner1.domain.com, partner2.domain.com, etc. And when you put that in a file, then you can update this. Sorry. Good. Okay. So when you put that in a file, then you can use HAProxy runtime socket to update the content of the file on the fly. So what I mean is that if you create new customers once per hour, for example, then instead of reloading HAProxy because you have updated the ACL, you can just run a command like set ACL, the name of the ACL, and the new value you want to put, and then it's going to be added. You can delete some of them, etc. So that's seamless for your integration. There is almost no impact on performance because everything is stored in what we call in HAProxy elastic binary trees. So it's like we say line rate when we look for pattern, etc. So that's very fast. No worries about that. Load balancing, of course. So HAProxy by design, and for like 17 years, it's a load balancer. So load balancing is the ability for the API gateway to take incoming traffic and to spread it over multiple servers delivering that particular service. That helps you to scale your service. That helps you to ensure that this service will be highly available. In case of one server failing, HAProxy can route the request to another one. And that ensures better performance, of course, because you can prevent saturating one of the servers. You can have multiple load balancing algorithms within HAProxy. So I show a couple of them like ListCon and round robin, which are the most famous one, I would say. But for example, sometimes you want to have a specific hash on a specific, you want to do some kind of persistence on a specific URL parameter or whatever header. So you can create balance based on a HTTP header, and then you can yourself build that HTTP header, saying that, oh, I want to copy the URL path plus the query string something plus whatever, do a hash on that, and then HAProxy will elect a server based on this. That's very flexible as well. When you do that, you want to have a consistent hashing. So consistent hashing means that even if the number of servers changes in the farm, only the people affected by the loss of the server will just redirected, and the hash won't be recomputed for everyone, which is good. Load balancing. So of course, before load balancing, there is one thing you want to do, is to ensure that the service is available on the server. This is what we call health checking in HAProxy. Some people call it monitoring, whatever. So the idea is that HAProxy can perform periodically health check on the server. And there is something else we can do as well, is what we call capacity checking with HAProxy. So there is a new protocol available in HAProxy that we call the agent. So the agent is a piece of software that can run on your server. And that piece of software can return information about operational status and administrative status. So people can use that for their databases as well, for MySQL. I think Percona has written an article on the blog where they use the agent check, and they just disable MySQL slaves if the difference between the slave and the master is too high, for example. So you can just disable slave like that. So the agent check can be used as well to report information within HAProxy. So HAProxy can use weight to different servers to send them more or less traffic. And the agent check can also be used to change that weight and also to change the maxCon value. So maxCon value is a number of maximum processing queries being performed by the server at a time. And if your server starts being overloaded, then your agent can report, oh, I want to have only 10 processing now because my CPU is burnt or whatever. So that's very, very useful, and that can be used with the monitoring. Service discovery. So as we've seen sooner, we have now an architecture that looks like I have a central API gateway and my monolith application has been spread over multiple services. The problem is that the more services I have, the more changes I will have to do in my configuration, because the more server I have, the more chance I have to have one failing or one recovering, etc. Or the more chance I have to make a maintenance somewhere and to eject it from the load balancing algorithm, etc. So this is the purpose of the service discovery and the service registries. So in your architecture, you will have either Consul, Zookeeper, Kubernetes can be used for this purpose as well. And these tools can be used as service registries. So when your microservice will start up somewhere, it will be registered into your registry, and then HAProxy can get this information and then start routing the traffic to that endpoint. So we have different ways of doing that. The most common way, so I use a Consul example here, but the most common way is to use Consul. So you start up a server, your server will register into Consul, and HAProxy can use DNS resolver, internal DNS resolver, to do SRV records with Consul. And as soon as your service has been registered into Consul, Consul will just update the SRV record list, and HAProxy will take this new server into account. That's how we do it. So how we do it is that we use a server template. HAProxy will provision 20 slots for this specific backend. If you need more than 20, you will have to reload. You change this number by 30 or whatever. You do your reload. And then as soon as it's done, you don't have anything to do. Sorry, it's there. You don't have anything to do. HAProxy will just do the DNS resolution. Your Consul will be updated. Your HAProxy will be updated, let's say, 1 second later. It's up to you. I mean, the resolvers by default do one query every 10 seconds, I think, or something like that. It does not follow up the TTL at all. So you can make it do a DNS resolution every 1 second if you want. It's up to you. There is another thing, is that some service discovery does not support SRV records. So like etcd or Docker Swarm. So in that case, it's better to have a sidecar. So the sidecar would be some kind of Go software that you can write yourself. There are a lot of examples for this software. And the sidecar will do the probe using JSON REST API call to your service registry, and then can push configuration into HAProxy. Because HAProxy exposes runtime CLI that you can use to do set server address something, set server port something, etc., etc. So this is something we use a lot. There are a few open source projects to integrate with Docker Swarm. One of them is Dockerflow that can be used. It will do everything for you. Each time there is a change in Docker Swarm, then it will be replicated into HAProxy's configuration. If you use Kubernetes, oops, there is a typo. If you use Kubernetes, we have an ingress controller which is available. There are a few of them actually available in the community as well that can be used. And Consul, you can use Consul template as well as a sidecar, or you can write your own. That's quite simple. Circuit breaking is the ability for HAProxy to detect that a server is currently failing. So circuit breaking is mostly used when the health check is passing, but the server has started failing. So if you do a health check every 1 second, but you have 1,000 queries per second, potentially you can have 1,000 queries being sent to a server which is currently dying. So HAProxy can detect that, and HAProxy can say, okay, the server did not answer to the TCP check, so I can, to the TCP hand check when I wanted to do the connection, so I can forward the query to another server. That's automatic, you don't have anything to do. Just enable the retry parameter, sorry. Also, when you have a big deployment, we have customers who have 20 HAProxy servers, each of them having 10 to 20 processes. It means that each of your application server could have like 200 to 400 health check. So that's a DDoS from the load balancer layer. Of course, you don't want to do that. So either you fully rely on your service discovery to update HAProxy, or you can also configure HAProxy to change the frequency of the check. So in the configuration I show here, HAProxy will make a check every 1 minute. And if there is a single query failing, then HAProxy will create a check at the next second. And if that check fails, then HAProxy will eject the server from the load balancing algorithm. So there is no DDoS anymore. It's better spread over your servers, etc. So that's safer for your services, actually. Authentication. As we've seen sooner, the application gateway is a gateway, the API gateway is a gateway between internet or partners and your internal services, and it's also your gateway between your services together. So of course, authentication should be done, or this piece of component should be compatible with authentication. So HA proxy can be used to detect if somebody has been authenticated or not. If not, perform an action, whatever action that would be. Let's have a look. So there is a focus on cookie here. So we see a first ACL that can check for a cookie called myapp sent by the client. If the cookie is not present in the table that we have here, then HA proxy will route the client to the authentication backend. So as long as you have not been properly authenticated, then HA proxy will forward you to that backend. It's impossible for you to bypass authentication. Then, as soon as you have been authenticated, HA proxy will learn the cookie generated by the server. So why we do that is that because if I am an attacker, I can say, oh, I know that you want me to send a myapp cookie, so I'm going to fake one or to forge a fake one, and I'm going to send it to you. But HA proxy will detect that. Why? Because what we store in the table is the cookie generated by the server here. So if your cookie has not been generated by the server, then the fake cookie will not be in the table, then you will still be forwarded to the authentication backend. So we'll see later. We can also count the fake cookie, whatever, and say, oh, now you will get a 403. You are not allowed to get authenticated for 1 hour, for example. So HA proxy can do much more than that. And as soon as you have been authenticated, then you will be forwarded to the catalog, for example, backend. And in the catalog backend, we do a mapping with that table. Why we do that is that because this cookie will expire after 15 minutes if it's not hit on the table. So each time there is a request here, this cookie will be refreshed in the table, so the data won't be purged automatically. So if you have a 15-minute session lifetime within your applications, just update it. Or if you have a 30-minute, just update this value here, and that's all. Because what will happen is that if this time does not match the one in your application, for example, if this time is much higher than what is in your application, then the cookie will be forwarded to the application, and the application will say, well, I don't know this user anymore, so we have a problem. So it's better to align the timers. So authentication when you use OAuth. So OAuth is a new JWT, you know, the token, Java Web Token or something like that. So it's not doable out of the box with HA proxy, but with HA proxy we have a cool feature now whose name is Lua scripting. So Lua is a language that you can embed into third-party software. So HA proxy is one of these third-party software, but Lua can be found in Nginx as well, can be found in Wireshark, can be found in many, many other places. The advantage of Lua is that it's compiled at configuration parsing, so you will execute bytecode. It's not interpreted, so it is very, very fast. And the advantage is that it's a real scripting language. So something that is complicated to do in HA proxy's native configuration can be written in Lua. And what we do as developer is that when we see some Lua piece of code being very famous, we turn this piece of code into a C function that would be available into HA proxy. That's how we do. So in the case of OAuth, what I do now is that I take the request and I execute this Lua function. And my Lua function will just do the validation of the token. So validation of the token means that you take the payload, you take the headers, and you validate that the signature is the one matching. So the signature is a TLS computation made by the server with a private key. And of course, you must provide to HA proxy the public key for that validation. And if the validation matches the payload, then it means that it's the expected provider that has generated that token. In that token, we can extract any kind of data. So in my case, I extracted the nickname of the person and the email. So this code works with zeroauth.com, which is a OAuth provider compatible with JWT, but that would work with any other one. And of course, so the nickname is then stored in an HA proxy variable in memory by the Lua script. And if the variable is not set, it means that the client has not been authenticated, so I can forward it to my authentication backend. Authentication backend could be anything, could be a redirect to your provider, could be a specific page that will provide a web form, etc., etc. And if you are authenticated, then you can forward. The advantage is that of using that in HAProxy, if you don't do that in HAProxy, all of your services will have to be compatible with GWT. So you will have to do all the validation within your application and then all the extraction within your application. Once it's done within HAProxy, you don't have to bother anymore. You can tell your developers, oh, you will get the unique ID of the user in a header called x-gwt-nickname. This is a unique ID from the user. And then you can extract whatever you want and do it. Here I did this in HAProxy, but the header could be set directly by the Lua script if we wanted to. I just put it there so it's easier to read, but technically I would rather do it directly within the Lua code. So one thing you want to do also when you have an API gateway is that you want to do some rate limiting. So there are many reasons why you want to rate limiting. The idea of rate limiting is to impose a limit on the number of requests people can do on a particular endpoint. So there are two reasons. One is for security purpose, to prevent your service from being overloaded and then or being abused, etc. And the other one is to make money with your services. So imagine you are in a business where you have different category of users. You have the premium user that you want them to have a guaranteed access to your data, and then you have the bronze user or whatever, and you want to give them access to your data, but only if there is enough capacity, let's say, or you can tell them you have the right to do only 100 requests per 1 hour. And if you are a premium user, you can do 1,000 queries per 1 hour or whatever. It's up to you to decide. So how this is implemented within HAProxy? So in HAProxy, we'll have our front end, again, with our token. So I'm just applying that to OAuth, but that could be applied to anything else. And what I'm going to extract from the token is the nickname of the person and the quota. So the quota will be set by your authentication server. That could be a data provided within the token. And HAProxy can extract it. And what we'll do is that HAProxy, now I have updated also the stick table. And in the stick table, I'm going to store the request rate for that particular user, nickname actually, over 1 hour. And now, when the request is coming in, I know exactly the number of requests that this particular user did during the last hour. And I can also subtract from this particular rate the quota from this user. And of course, if the subtraction of the allowed traffic and the quota is greater than 0, it means that this guy is over quota. And then I can do whatever I want. In that case, I'm doing a deny. So normally you don't want to do a deny. You want to do a deny with a status code 429, which means that too many requests. And then when you have a partner using API, they know that when they got a 429, they will just retry later. And then as soon as you pass all of this, I do the tracking after that, of course. So this is how you can simply implement traffic quota, rate limiting, etc., and how you can start getting money from your exposed API or protect abuser. So I will have a talk this afternoon at 2 p.m. where I'm going to go deeper into that because the talk will be about preventing DDoS, abusers, etc. With HAProxy. Detailed monitoring and statistics. So as we've seen sooner, once again, your API gateway is a gateway between internet and your services, and most of the time it's also the gateway between your services themselves. HAProxy exposes a stats page with hundreds, I said tens, but I'm a bit conservative, that's hundreds of metrics per front-end, back-end, servers, etc., etc. They are exposable as CSV, and you can also have the JSON version when you do the show stats over the runtime API of HAProxy. The advantage is that you can easily integrate that with Prometheus, Grafana, SNMP, etc., etc. That's as simple as either exposing this Lua socket or using the Prometheus Lua script that will turn the internal statistics within the Prometheus format. And as soon as it's exported within the Prometheus format, then you can use Grafana, etc. So this is the HAProxy stats page, quite famous. It's a bit old school, but it's very efficient. We have, as I said, we have many metrics. Maybe you don't know, but here, when you have the underscore under the numbers, you can put your mouse here and you will get even more information, like the number of 200, the number of 400, the number of 500, etc., etc. And some kind of output within Grafana. So on this example, I have HAProxy exposing its statistics through Prometheus, and Prometheus just exposing the metrics through Grafana, and Grafana just graphing. So what I did here is that HAProxy is used as an ingress controller on Kubernetes. And thanks to HAProxy statistics, I can expose my statistics, so the average response time on a particular service into Prometheus. Prometheus will expose that into the custom API from Kubernetes, and then the Kubernetes pod autoscaler can consume that value to decide to autoscale your application. So what happened is that I have a hard limit at 50 milliseconds on my service, and then I am injecting different type of load. So I had a big spike traffic, and then I see that the number of servers has just been expanded by the pod autoscaler from Kubernetes. Then my response time has decreased. Maybe my spike traffic is done. So we can see that the pod autoscaler for Kubernetes has just decreased the number of servers. So you don't have anything to do. Just plug Prometheus, HAProxy, Kubernetes all together. Let the magic happen. So there will be a blog article about that because it's not that simple to configure, to be honest. Well, HAProxy, Prometheus, etc. will be quite simple, but the integration within Kubernetes, it's a fun story. That's the explication of the Grafana graph. HTTP response caching. So that's a new feature available since HAProxy 1.8. So HAProxy can do HTTP caching. So don't try to replace Varnish with HAProxy. That's not the purpose of our cache. Varnish target is to accelerate the web for the big applications, for the big data, for the big objects, etc. For the sessions, we are not at that level, and we don't want to compete with Varnish on that. We call it maintenance-free cache. That's because our cache, the purpose of our cache is to cache small objects for a short period of time. When I say short, it could be 1 hour if you decide that 1 hour is short enough for you. Maintenance-free means that you don't need to get connected to your cache to say, oh crap, my developer pushed the wrong logo for the company. It's 10 megabyte instead of 10 kilobyte. And so I need to purge it, so I'm sure that the cache will just renew it. So this won't happen with HAProxy, because since you cache for a short period of time, you know that in like 1 minute later, the data will be purged, and so you're good to go. So we call it that's for the small objects and short period of time. So basically the CSS, the JavaScript, HTML pages, anything that is static should be cached and could be cached. You have a couple of directives. First, you need to create a cache memory allocation. So in that case, total cache will be at most 100 megabytes, the total of data. And max age of the data will be 60 seconds. It means that if there is a wrong object cached, you know that at least, or at most, sorry, after 60 seconds, the data will automatically be purged. Even if you put 1 second, it's interesting. Why? Because imagine you have 1,000 queries per second on favicon.eco. If you don't have any cache in HAProxy, that 1,000 queries per second will go to the server. If you enable the cache in HAProxy for 1 second, this 1,000 queries per second will become only 1 query per second on the server. So even 1 second cache is quite efficient. So in HAProxy, as we've seen sooner, we have some HTTP rules. So you have a new set of keywords. And the advantage is that you can use ACLs and conditions based on that. So you can enforce caching or prevent caching for some objects. In that case, I say it's not supposed to do it, but it was just to highlight it. If there is a set cookie sent by the server, I don't want to store the object in the cache. Security. So when you are internet facing, you are normally point. Well, that's a good point, I would say, to enable security. So HAProxy can be used, and we'll see that in the talk sooner. I will have 40 minutes to detail all of this. Can be used to protect against brute force. So brute force are simple. I just have a dictionary of passwords, and I'm going to send you 1 million of queries with all my passwords, and I expect to find the password within those queries. So HAProxy can do that, and we can mix ACLs, maps, stick tables, different advanced features from HAProxy to detect this kind of brute force and to protect your applications from that. Web application firewall. So if you want to know more about brute force, come back at 2 p.m. I will have more time to discuss on that. Web application firewall. So once again, when you are internet facing, you will get public traffic, and by definition, in public traffic, there are bad guys. Furthermore, if you have an API exposed on internet, it means that you are doing business, and if you are doing business, you are a target for the guy who wants to get your money. So you want to analyze anything coming in, because when you are an API gateway, you are supposed to deliver only dynamic content, and so if you deliver dynamic content, it means that you want to analyze everything passing through. So with HAProxy community, you can now plug 2 web application firewalls as SPOE module. So if you have any question on SPOE, I can detail that on our booth. This is Mod Security and Mod Defender. Mod Defender is based on NACSI provided by Nginx. And if you use HAProxy Enterprise, we have those directly plugged in as modules within HAProxy. If you don't want to use any of this module and you already have Imperva or F5 as a web application firewall, then HAProxy can still stand in front of your application, know that this traffic is coming from internet, forward it to your web application firewall, and then your web application firewall will just forward back the traffic to HAProxy, and then HAProxy can do the load balancing. The advantage of doing that is that you can detect if the web application firewall is saturated, if the web application is responsive, etc., etc. And if the WAF is not responsive or saturated, then you can take decisions like business first, I want to bypass the WAF and forward the request to the server. Or I'm a bank, security first, I'm just going to return sorry page, we are busy and we can't handle that traffic. Another point is that usually when you have an API exposed on internet, you are going to do JSON REST, and you want to do JSON validation. So the idea of JSON validation is to ensure first that the object is well a real JSON object, it's not broken or whatever. And you can also ensure that your JSON object is matching a predefined schema. So all of this could be done with Lua scripting. I've wrote a bit of Lua script that could do that. Validating that it's JSON, it's pretty simple and fast. Validating that it matches a predefined schema could be more complicated, but it's worth it. The idea is that you ensure that any request sent to your application can't contain broken data or any attack, because you are going to validate the content from SQL injection, XSS, etc. using the WAF, and then you are going to validate the schema of the data sent to ensure that it matches what your application expects. When you do that, of course, each time you update your API, don't forget to update your load balancer or your API gateway, because otherwise the traffic will be denied. But you will see it in the log anyway. Performance, once again, the load balancer will be API gateway will be in the middle of everything within your network, which means that if it does not perform well, your business will be impacted. So there are different points on which HAProxy can play. First, we can queue traffic. So if we see that some servers are slow, we can limit the number of traffic being processed by those servers. We can queue the queries if there are too many for this particular endpoint, or we can also forward the queries to other servers if other server has enough capacity available. HAProxy also performs what we call HTTP buffering. So the advantage is that it reads the response at the speed of the server, which is usually quite fast, because that's on the LAN, and delivers it at the speed of the client, which is usually quite slow, because it's more and more over mobile network. When I say that, why it's important is that because if imagine you have a max con at 100 on this particular server, it means that I could have only 100 processing in parallel on this particular server. The point is, if one client is taking 10 seconds to read the object, if I don't do buffering, that connection on the server will be maintained for 10 connections and will be blocked. With HAProxy, when you do a maxcon, HAProxy will read the data, store it in a buffer. While it's reading, it's already forwarding them. But as soon as it's read, this connection on the server is recycled for somebody else. Even if HAProxy take 10 seconds, 1 hour, we don't care, to forward the data to the client, then the server won't be aware of this problem. HAProxy is good at doing networking, and even when you do that, even if you don't do the maxcon thing, you will see that just putting HAProxy in front of your application will be more responsive. You can also enable SSL TLS processing on HAProxy. If you look at Ilya Grigorik, that's a Google developer advocate, who maintained a page, isTLSfastYet.com, I think, something like that. HAProxy has the best-in-class TLS stack. It's the latest software that has TLS, but it has all the features available. We even have TLS 1.3 if your OpenSSL library is compatible, and we can even do the zero RTT if you have this particular open library. We can also do SSL compression, so don't use libjz because it's bad. We have developed a lib called libslz, which means stateless zip. The advantage of our library is that it does not consume any memory, and it's almost line rate. The cons is that it does not compress as well as gzip. But in the end, you will see that you will be able to send much more data with libslz than with libgzip. So maybe sometimes it's worth it. And you can also do the server-side connection reuse. That's some kind of connection pooling to prevent from having to close some connections, etc. HAProxy will try to reuse as many connections as possible. So it will avoid you to have to open too many connections. So as a conclusion, can I use HAProxy as an API gateway? Yes, you can. Longer answer is that HAProxy is very reliable. It's famous for that. It's very flexible. As we've seen, we can do a lot of magic things within the configuration. And we can quickly adapt it to your needs. Whatever needs you have, there must be a solution somewhere with HAProxy. We can cover most of the requirements of the API gateway. And since the API gateway by requirement is some kind of HTTP reverse proxy, and this is the design of HAProxy, of course we can do it. That said, some features could be improved. Better integration with service registries, as we've seen on the slide on the table. We work quite well with Consul and Kubernetes, but not very well with the other ones. So could be better on that part. We don't have any GUI, monitoring dashboard, log analytics, etc. So you will have to build them if you want to use HAProxy as your API gateway. And there is one particular need which is not covered, is what they call gateway aggregation. So gateway aggregation is when you send a single query to your API gateway, and your API gateway will split this query into 10 queries to go to 10 different services, and then aggregate the responses and then forward back the response to the caller. So HAProxy could do that with Lua scripting, or you could do that with a specific Go service that you could write yourself. It's not that complicated to do. And not everyone needs that particular feature. So what I mean is that API gateway products are very expensive, and most of the time HAProxy for free can be used and to cover everything you need and go even beyond. We have some customers switching from very expensive API gateway products just because they can't sustain more like a few thousand queries per second. With all these configurations that I've shown you, everything enabled, you can beat the 50,000 with a single server if you need to, and even more. So, and I think that's all. That's the time for the question and answers, if you have any question. Otherwise, I think we run out of time, but I'm at the booth. So just come to the booth later and ask your questions. Thank you.